Hi all, this is Miriam Wortel, author of the book Lessons in Law of Attraction. I'm recording this today because I have this weird excitement because I woke up with this immense clarity this morning. It was after, just dealing with something on my end, and it was one of these things that I kept searching all these different YouTube videos, and I'd been spinning my wheels for, quite frankly, a long time. And, I was always just trying to pick up whatever books or listen to, whatever things I could on YouTube. And I just, like, in the last 24 hours or so, almost 24, 48 hours, I basically just surrendered. And I said, God, it's in your hands. I'm talking to you about this. I'm tired of looking everywhere else. I'm expecting somehow I'm going to get some kind of answer or clarity, whatever. And lo and behold, I woke up this morning and I had this clarity. And this clarity that I have ties into a lot of the other stuff I've recorded. But it's something that I need, not just for myself, but I feel like is really, really important for me to share. And sorry, there's a truck going by in the background outside, so hopefully it didn't come too badly through the audio. And what I got from this clarity is, as I said, it builds on everything else that I've recorded. And I've spoken about how our thoughts create. Our thoughts are always transmitting. But here's what I want to share. Here's like the biggest piece of clarity. What came to me some time ago is that the truth always starts with an I statement. In other words, there's some way that we feel about ourselves. There's some way that we self-identify that literally attracts everything that goes on in our lives, right? And yes, it can also be from our perceptions of the world, but you can always somehow form that into an I statement. So if you think life is hard, it's really like, I think life is hard for me. You know what I mean? In my case, I woke up and I realized my issue was that I didn't feel valued. And that's something that's come up multiple times when I've done my introspective work. I have, aside from journaling, I keep a bunch of notebooks where I do like the work. So journaling is kind of like where I write, my summaries, my wishes, my affirmations. By some wishes, I mean like I'll make my intentions for things I desire, affirmations, and just kind of general summaries of things that I've learned. And then in my notebooks, I will literally, almost like I'm sitting and doing algebra, like emotional algebra, I will sit and I'll write out, how I'm feeling, and I'll kind of like diagnose it, dissect it, where I think things are coming from, whatever it is. I'll ask myself, why do I believe this? Where else has this been a common theme? And so many times that feeling not valued has come up for me, right? And, one of the things that I've said is that, look, there's a lot of other people who teach law of attraction that I almost feel like they're talking from the top of the mountain, shouting down, right? I don't want to be shouting down. I'm the person that says, hey, I'm right on the journey with you. The whole point of my book, Lessons in Law of Attraction, is it's like, I'm on the journey with you. Like, I had to learn that everything is attracted from within instead of without. And I realized when I was trying to attract certain things that, like, I had a lot of inner work to do. And it wasn't just enough to close my eyes and visualize and, think happy thoughts. Is that I had to really revamp how I feel about myself, right? And so, I'm still on that journey. It's a continuous journey, not just for myself, but for everyone. And, having this clarity today that pretty much every single thing that's really, really bothering me in life, I mean, there's been a few things, but one of the biggest, the stuff that's been really weighing me on the most, the stuff that I felt the most grief about, and yes, I've been feeling with a lot of grief, sadness, was because I haven't felt valued. And that affected me in my personal life. It affected me professionally. But I realized how I realized it also came to the main point of clarity is because I realized it was in trying to protect that feeling of I don't feel valued. That's why I was thinking certain thoughts about certain people and certain circumstances in my life, right? So I'll give you an example. One of the things that I've been through in my life is I would often manifest, my friends would hang out and spend a lot more time with other people instead of me. Like, I viewed myself as the person that everyone would go to for advice, shoulder to lean on, or if someone needed something, whatever it is. I've always been the point person. But when it came just to hanging out, not that people would never call me to hang out, of course they would, but I always felt like I was sort of secondary, not a priority, like just somehow I didn't feel like people were excited to come hang out with me. And that was a really, really painful thing, especially around my birthday. And my friends have heard about this a lot because I've gone off on them. And I was like, I know I'm attracting from the inside, but why can't you invite me to do something for my birthday or whatever it is? I always get very sensitive about this stuff. And my birthday has always been a sore point for me. But I'm now changing that with my manifestation. So God willing, is I'm not in the old dynamic that I was, but I used to always feel very lonely on my birthdays because I always felt like, why do I have to plan my own birthday so hard? Like, can't someone do something nice for me and whatever it is? And that all ties into not feeling valued. But meanwhile, I would always think these thoughts like, oh, my friends they're too busy with their own lives. There's all the people they'd rather hang out with. They're not initiating with me. And I would literally come up with thought after thought after thought after thought after thought. And I realized that's protecting me not feeling valued, right? I'm not going to air too much of my dirty laundry. I'll tell you what affected me from a relationship, romantic standpoint also. It affected me, even with regard to sometimes getting my books out there. I mean, I would like to feel that my book has a huge amount of value, even just from the people that have reached out to me. And I'm really grateful because I've gotten some extremely, extremely beautiful messages on Instagram. People have reached out. If anyone's interested, I have my Instagram handle in the description below, but we're on YouTube, so I have where it says the description. I have, it says at Miriam Wortel Official, so at first name, last name, official, and people have reached out and they shared their thoughts on my book and how much it's changed their life, but I'm like, well, shouldn't it be out there more? Shouldn't even more people be finding it? And some of it, look, I don't want to sound egotistical, but sometimes it's really sad when you put yourself out there so hard and you feel like, well, why are people not seeing it, or why is this not spreading in the way that I would have hoped? Not to take away from the people that did see the value, but overall, it kept feeding this feeling of I didn't feel valued, right? And I'm also sure that my book's about to get out there a lot more as I'm working on this issue. And I just want to be transparent because, I'm not trying to say oh, I have this all figured out. Just like you guys, I'm figuring it out too, and I'm sharing what I learn as I move along. And I'm sort of stupidly happy to have this awareness because I was like, oh, this is literally been what's been holding me back, right? And professionally also, as I mentioned, it's been this very tough thing for me because it's there's so many times and I've been aware of this for at least almost 2 years now, where I feel like I kept trying to, in business, always show my value. I think a lot of business owners, we go through that, where we keep wanting to show the value of our services, but if we felt and inherently knew the value of ourselves and our services end up being, of course, energetically an extension of us, right? Because we chose to identify with whatever profession we're doing or wherever we're selling, if, we're in business. I mean, it could be even when someone owns a pizza shop, that pizza is a part of their identity in some way. That's an extension of them, you know what I mean? And you need to take pride in and really feel good about. And, even though logically you can think, oh, I do feel good about it, but why doesn't everyone see it? That still means there's something inside of you that doesn't feel valued, okay? And I feel like a lot of people feel like this. A lot of people feel like this. I mean, I feel like this comes up again in business, relationships, so many different areas of life, certainly friendships too, as I mentioned. And, I remember I wrote an affirmation, not an affirmation, but I wrote my affirmations on index cards, and I took an index card, even though it was an affirmation, I wrote basically something to the effect that it was my job to see my value and, and not try to preach on the outside. And that was my reminder that every time I would talk to someone in a business setting, to really focus on feeling it on the inside. But even though I was conscious of that, I didn't realize that was the thread that were holding all my thoughts together. So it's not just about understanding that, okay, I feel not valued. It's understanding that our thoughts create, and the thoughts that we transmit are all supporting those core beliefs, okay? So we may think about how business isn't coming to us, and we may try to say, oh yeah, I want to manifest $1 million. I want to do this thing. I want to whatever, And yeah, you can invest $1 million from the lottery because that's not really tied to your value, although it will money has value, so actually you can even tie it in there too. But I'm saying from a business standpoint, it's going to be harder if you don't really value yourself, value your services, and really feel it deep within your core, right? You can also attract it if you're not thinking about it either way. In other words, in the absence of you not feeling unvalued, you would attract it. In other words, blessings are always coming unless we block them out. Okay, I'm going to repeat that again. Blessings are always coming unless we block them out. All right, and this goes for anything and everything in life. But it's those negative core beliefs, which they can be conscious, they can be subconscious. The subconscious always leaves clues. I say this all the time. Okay, you'll find it in your speech patterns, things like that. And it's about paying attention to your feelings. But my point is, all these thoughts that you're sending out to probably multiple areas of your life, just like me, it wasn't contained to one area of your life. It can be just in one area of your life, like just business, just relationships, just friendships, or just even sometimes a certain medical thing. It's all tied to something. So all those thoughts have something in common of how it makes you feel, okay? And obviously people have more than one negative core belief, right? But there's usually not too many negative core beliefs. It might be 3, it might be 4, it might be 5. You know what I mean? So you're going to find they all have something, and it's all based in a self-concept. That's why I said the truth always starts with some sort of I statement, because it's like I identify as someone who's not loved, not valued. And you can even kind of put those things together, right? And there's, I can't explain it because it's like, I don't know if there's a quick way to always find out what that is. It's just more of like paying attention or writing things down, or it's like if you would imagine a tree, all these little limbs of a tree, like, they're the tangent thoughts of the trunk of the tree, which is this, root core belief. And that's really how you figure out what your stuff is. But mine came just through praying about it. And I encourage people to pray about it. The crazy thing is that I've seen so many YouTube videos, particularly people that follow Neville Goddard, and they're literally affirming that they're God of their reality, which I think is blasphemous to say. I just think it's inappropriate. We're part of the divine, for sure. We are more powerful than we know. And it's fine to affirm that our thoughts create, because that is fact, that our thoughts create. But in my opinion, not appropriate to say that we are God. It's just not appropriate. Or correct. We are part of the divine. We are not the divine. There's a difference. And that community tends to just like affirm their way, and almost like they just push through. In a lot of the videos, I've found so many people talking about this stuff. They push through their thoughts because they know their thoughts create, and they'll try to like change their thoughts to positive thoughts. And yes, you can manifest that way, but it's like, it's like, imagine you have weeds in the garden, right? And it's like, okay, so you're plucking the weeds, and you might be planting other things, but like get the original thing out at the root source. You know what I mean? Because once you've really understood the root cause, say all my thoughts are tied to this one issue, and you remove it, you don't have to say positive affirmations. You don't have to overly work on changing your thoughts. Only in the beginning you have to work on changing your thoughts, because you'll realize, okay, all these thoughts are tied to a root issue. Okay, now that I understand this, it becomes so much easier to change my thoughts. You're like, oh, I was only thinking that because of XYZ, right? And the other thing that I want to bring up is everything in life, everything that relates to people or, any other subject matter, like money, health, has to do with whether you're sending loving energy or fearful/hateful energy. So think of it like there's a stick. On one side is like loving energy, where you have appreciation, gratitude, joy, etc. Other side of the stick, all the negative stuff, fear, hate, because all hate stems from fear anyway. So it's really the stick is the love and fear stick, right? And as I read in my book, someone named Jacqueline, who I still talk to and appreciate very much till this day, she taught me, love and fear can't exist at the same time. And that's where I really started to understand that, right? In other words, sometimes we think we're thinking like loving thoughts about someone close to us, but we're really thinking fearful thoughts. We know that we love them, but we're actually thinking fearful thoughts. And so one of the craziest things that I also realized as part of this clarity that I had today, and this goes out to the same, community of the Neville Goddard people, it's just, everyone keeps trying to, I guess, like make things complicated and say, oh, you got to change your story. And yes, it does help to change your story, right? It's a lot easier to just go straight to the self-concepts work, which there are people, who follow Neville stuff that work on self-concept for sure. I mean, I've seen plenty of those videos, but like, that's really the only thing you need. Like, I'm not even kidding. That's literally the only thing. But sometimes I do think people, by the way, need some sort of energy work. When I say energy work, like I've done stuff with like emotion code, body code. Body code for me has been more helpful than emotion code. If you're not familiar with emotion code, there's a book called, it's called Emotion Code or The Emotion Code, but it's by Dr. Bradley Nelson, if you want to check it on Amazon. And there are some practitioners who are great at it, and there are some practitioners who are lousy at it. So I caution you, if you're going to do that modality, you really want to work with someone that you're going to see results from within a couple weeks. And I've had different experiences with that particular modality, but that really works with releasing stuff from the subconscious mind, right? And so it's releasing energy, it's releasing emotions, but it's all tied to the subconscious mind, and it helps to release these things we've been holding in and storing in the body and whatever it is. Because sometimes just doing things cognitively, I mean, it can certainly help, but sometimes it's not enough. So there are the things that you can do. I mean, people also utilize a lot of things with tapping, like emotional freedom technique, EFT for short, if people want to look that up. So once you recognize a core belief, you can tap that out and say things like, I know I haven't valued, but I choose to I know I haven't felt valued, but I choose to love and accept myself. And you tap on the edge of your hand, the karate chop point, right? You tap there, and then there's several points you tap on the face. There's tons of videos on YouTube on tapping. So my point is, there are things to do once you find these beliefs. And as I said, all you have to do really is work on that self-concept core belief thing. Everything else is sort of secondary. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if you kept trying to remove a tree just by cutting the branches instead of getting it at the root, right? That being said, I mean, usually you want to have good trees, positive trees. Like, I don't really like the tree thing, only because you don't want to actually remove trees. Trees are good. Trees are a good thing. But in this case, these would be negative trees. These would be some kind of toxic disease trees, because that would be what negative thoughts are. But getting back to what I was saying, after my brief tangent that was still related, I don't know, is, a lot of these Neville people are like, okay, you have to change your story, you have to do this, you have to do that. And like, what I realized is like, so let's say the best example I can give is actually an applied example rather than even just saying it in just straight words. You have a husband and wife, right? And let's say there's been 20 years of even resentment in that marriage, okay? If that person, so first of all that, like, so let's say the wife is extremely resentful of the husband, okay? And that wife may have a ridiculous amount of reasons to feel resentful of that husband, okay? Because she probably also manifested a million reasons to be resentful of that husband. And because of whatever the husband's manifesting, he could have done that. Like, he obviously could have played a part in it. But my point is, if she would have just started thinking thoughts of, you know what, I really love and appreciate him, he has a really good heart, and cease the negative thoughts, because all the negative thoughts come from fear. He's probably not going to take out the trash. He's probably going to be argumentative. He's probably going to be defensive. He's probably going to be this way and that way, and all these different things, okay? Then literally, if she's literally only sending him positive energy, he has to, and I mean has to, start showing up in that way, because people feel, whether we know it or not, our energy. They don't know. But if people are responding to us unkindly, it's usually because we, knowingly or unknowingly, were thinking negative thoughts about them. And I'm not saying that when someone wasn't in alignment, meaning when someone wasn't in a great, emotional or mental headspace, that they didn't just like all of a sudden send us something just like some people in a bad mood and they do something and it's not necessarily related to what we manifested. A lot of times it is, but a lot of times it could not be. But again, however we think of people is how they show up for us. So you don't even have to get rid of the old story, get rid of all the stuff. You just need to understand very simply, if you think really loving thoughts, and not loving thoughts like, oh, this person's so nice, why are they being a jerk? Like, I really want you to think about the statement that I said, because how often do we think about that with friends and family, whatever? Oh, they're such a nice person. Why are they doing that to me? Right? Like, it's ridiculous. And by the way, like, every little thought we think, is potential. Well, I'm not going to say every thought creates. Every thought has the potential to create. God saves us a lot from our own thoughts, so we'd really be in trouble. But my point is, like, and sometimes if someone's really in a place of love and a good place, like, even if we think negative thoughts, they're still going to rise above it and think positively, right? And react positively towards us. So you can sometimes think, oh, that person's such a whatever, and they still may be really nice to you because they're just a really good person, they're in a good headspace. But if you send those thoughts to someone and they're in an average or not great headspace, like, you can almost guarantee that you're going to evoke something from that person that you don't want to evoke, right? And so this is not just like, oh, I love or hate this person. You could be thinking that person's lazy. You could be thinking that person is selfish. You could be thinking that person is forgetful. Like, things that you think just may be harmless, like, they're not, right? Anything other than something neutral or positive is potentially causing an issue, and that's why you're feeling upset. But the reason you're thinking those thoughts about that person all have to do with your self-concept. So when you understand to say, you know what, now that I understand that all of these things came from my self-concept, okay, you then understand that you have permission to really be your godly self and think of these people in a positive way again, because they're no longer a pawn in helping you holding the negative emotions about yourself. And that's really all it comes down to. I know that seems like, a crazy thing to think about, but I realized this was someone really near and dear to me. I found myself, I was like, why are things being so ridiculous with this person? This person's such a kind person. I was thinking that. I'm like, but why are they being so stubborn? Like, why are they being so resistant? But guess who's thinking about them as stubborn and resistant? Me. Because literally, same person, when I've thought that person is very, like, when I've thought about how much I really appreciate that person, and I let go of all the negative thoughts and the fearful thoughts, and, like, just legitimately, like, days I was in a better mood just thinking, like, this person is such a sweet person. Literally, like, I would get a whole other version of that person. Just such sweetness, or whatever it is. I've seen things, I said, at work, coworkers, certain things, like, I thought how it come back positive, negative, whatever. Clients, same thing. Friends, same thing. Family members, same thing. Acquaintances, same thing. It's like, doesn't matter where it is. All of it means the same. And we always want to blame people outside of us, but God gives people as our mirrors. It's like, if you imagine that we're all a bunch of disco balls, okay? We're all a bunch of little disco balls. We're all reflecting to each other. The whole point is for all of us to realize and refine ourselves and truly become godly versions of ourselves. And really be in alignment with God. Okay, that's what that means. Alignment means you're aligned with God. You're aligned with, positive thinking, positive feeling. And look, that does not happen overnight. I mean, I have been on this journey for years, okay? And it's like, just like you wouldn't jump up an entire staircase in, like, one little thing. You go up one step at a time. It's the same thing. It's a process. But I'm recording this so people can be aware, okay? And I really hope this was helpful. My goal is just, one, you stop blaming other people. Don't shoot the messenger, okay? They're a messenger about how you feel about yourself and about your life, so you can heal, okay? And so you can feel better about yourself and your life, and you will see the circumstances in your life will change. The people in your life will change. You don't have to do any of these crazy manifestation techniques, right? By the way, even, I just want to point this out, even if it's not with people, with money, right? Money is a big topic for people, okay? If you just think about how much you really love and appreciate money, and you ceased all negative thoughts about it, in other words, all the thoughts that support whatever I statement that is tied to you feeling that lack of money, of I don't feel secure, or I don't feel safe with money, or everyone's going to have maybe something, somewhat different on that. If you literally just thought about how much you appreciate money, what money does for you, how it helps you, how it gives you a sense of ease in your life, and you really just focus on appreciation of money, it's going to flow to you like crazy, because money is an energy, right? And believe me, I had to learn a lot of this the hard way, like the hard way, because I got stuck in fear. A lot of us have gotten stuck in fear. Fear is not truth. Fear is an illusion. Fear is the block to happiness, okay? And once we realize that fear is just this artificial block, it's just this, this dark smoke screen, okay? But fear is falsehood. It is not truth. The truth is God is always wanting to give us. It's always readily available to us. Fear is the only thing that keeps things out. I said fear is behind hatred. So if we just think loving thoughts towards whatever we want to attract in life, people, money, any other circumstances, you know what? If you want to think about even just manifesting a vacation, just think loving thoughts about that vacation. Don't think thoughts, I can't have that, I can't afford that, I can't whatever. Fear. You see what I mean? But if you think, oh my God, I love feeling that ocean breeze. I love feeling, and you just think, oh, I appreciate what vacations do for me. I appreciate what it does for my body. I'm going to tell you, you're going to just manifest like a vacation from someplace. I don't know how it's going to happen. And the money's going to come for it because you're going to manifest that experience. So this is just what manipulates the energy, whether or not you're in love or fear. Okay. And it certainly affects relationships. And that's the point that I wanted to get across, is that I realized that I kept trying so hard to change my thoughts. And there were points that I felt like I couldn't even change my own thoughts. It literally felt too hard for me to change my own thoughts because I had all these thought patterns. And then I realized, oh my God, they all have one thing in common. And now that I know that I don't have to change all my thoughts, I just have to recognize they all came from, in this case, all the ones that were bothering me were tied to the one of I don't feel valued. I have to just work on affirming that I'm valued. I may have to do some tapping sessions. I mean, again, just have this I just had the awareness this morning, and it's a little before 10 a.m. It's 9:58 a.m. as I'm recording this. And it allows me to, so I was saying, so yeah, it's like, let me get my thoughts together. So yeah, this clarity allows me to realize that all I have to do is just, take some positive action towards this, where, I said it might be doing tapping to release it. I'm not sure if I'll do an energy session of some kind, like emotion code, body code to release it. I'm going to see what intuitively I feel guided to. And I'm going to pray on it and say, okay, God, I haven't felt valued. How do I change this, right? Because praying on it really is the best way to get that clarity, honestly. Because then it's like you're not just guessing with like whatever reasons you have. Like you'll feel, it's hard to explain it, but you'll feel this like intuition, this clarity on like what to do about it. God willing, that's like been my experience once I pray on something. And so because I know what my issue is, it gives me permission again to think, more positive thoughts, and to say, you know what, all I have to do is think about how I appreciate that person. And if I really can't think appreciative thoughts towards that person, or loving thoughts towards that person, or towards a certain, entity, money, whatever it may be. And as I said, I'm giving an example of a person because that's what I think a lot of people relate to. They have relationship issues. This particular area, as I said, was several people in my life and affected me business-wise, but I'm just giving that example. So, but again, all I have to do is realize that came from my core beliefs. That's why I had all these tangent thoughts. And now all I have to do is think positive thoughts about them. All I have to do is think positive thoughts. I don't have to say anything manipulative. I don't have to say, oh, this person who yelled at me is now going to give me this apology and all these things. Like, you don't have to do that. Literally just think thoughts of appreciation about any people that you've ever had any issues in life. Think of thoughts of appreciation about money. anything. Literally just think about how much you love and appreciate them. I guarantee you your life is going to change so drastically. And I really, really want to hear from you guys, you know, whether you want to message me on Instagram or you want to comment in, you know, underneath the video on YouTube. I really want to hear how this changes your life. So I'm really, really excited. And I said, I'm excited to just take in this clarity that I've had. And I hope this was helpful. Take care.